look at that chicken. That chicken's so good.
Would you like some gravy with your...
On the side.
on the side? I can't wait to
Dominic. Wait. How much do you want, Dominic? Do you want to pass that over to Melissa?
It's a cool looking candle. Aren't they neat? They have really cool designs on them. And now, I will make a toast. Merry Christmas, everybody. It's nice to have you all here, and I have a toast. First to my beautiful wife, my partner in all of life's adventures. It's nice to have family around us. To my daughter-in-law, to our son, to our grandchildren. A Merry Christmas. But the toast is for other people. We are very, very lucky people. We have food to eat, we have family, we have warm homes. We are very lucky people. So this toast is for the people who aren't as lucky as we are, who don't have the things that we have. They don't have the family and the support and the warmth. So when we toast this holiday, we're going to toast for those people, okay? So a toast to everyone who needs us and all of the things that we might do to make the world a better place. Cheers. 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 Mr. Dominic, can you reach all the way across for Papa? Come on. And cheers for you. Cheers. And mostly to you.
Merry Christmas, Papa.
Merry Christmas, Olivia.
Papa, would you like some hot cocoa?
Oh, I would love some. Is Dominic asleep? Bring the cocoa and come on back. I have a story to read.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Cheers, Olivia. I do chocolate. Now, do you remember Papa's toast at dinner for people who aren't as well off as we are and who aren't quite as lucky? My grandmother used to read me a story, and it was Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Match Girl. Whenever I thought I was special, she would tell me that, you know, people weren't as well off as me. And this is that story. It's called The Little Match Girl. It was terribly cold. It snowed and it was already almost dark. An evening came on, the last evening of the year. In the cold and gloom, a poor little girl, bareheaded and barefoot, was walking through the streets. When she left her own house,
She certainly had had slippers on. But what use were they? They were big slippers, and her mother had used them till then. So big they were. The little maid lost them as she slipped across the road, where two carriages were rattling by, terribly fast. One slipper was not to be found again, and a boy had seized the other one and run away with it. He thought he could use it very well as a cradle, someday when he had children of his own. So now the little girl went with her little naked feet, which were quite red and blue with the cold. In an old apron she carried a number of matches, and a bundle of them in her hand. No one had bought anything from her all day, and no one had given her even a penny. Shivering with cold and hunger, she crept along. A picture of misery, the poor little girl. The snowflakes covered her long, fair hair, but she did not think of that now. In all the windows lights were shining, and there was a glorious smell of roasting meat. For it was New Year's Eve. Oh yes, she thought of that. In a corner formed by two houses, one of which projected beyond the other, she sat down, cowering. She had drawn up her little feet, but she was still colder, and she did not dare to go home, for she hadn't sold any matches, and did not bring any money home. From her father she would certainly receive a beating. And besides, it was cold at home, for they had nothing over them but a roof through which the wind whistled, through the largest rips and tears, in the house. They'd been stopped up with rags. It was still cold. Her little hands were almost numb with the cold. Ah, a match might do her good if she could only draw one from the bundle and rub it against the wall to warm her hands. She drew one out, and ratch! How it sputtered and burned. It was a warm, bright flame, like a little candle when she held her hands over it. It was a wonderful little light. It really seemed to the little girl that she sat before a great and beautiful fire. How the fire burned! How comfortable it was! How cozy! But the little flame went out, and the fire vanished, and she only had the remains of the burned match in her hand. A second match was rubbed against the wall. Ratch! It burned up, and when the light fell upon the wall, it became transparent, like a thin veil. On the table a snow-white cloth was spread, and upon it stood a shining dinner service. The roast looked glorious, stuffed with apples and dried plums, and what was still more splendid to behold, the roast hopped down from the table and waddled across the floor, with a knife and fork stuck into it, to the little girl, right over to the little girl. Then the match went out, and only the thick, damp, cold wall was before her. She lighted another match, ratch, against the wall, and she was sitting under a beautiful Christmas tree. It was greater and more ornamental than the one she had seen through the glass door at the rich merchant's house. Thousands of candles burned upon the green branches, and colored pictures like those in the print shops looked down upon them. The little girl stretched forth her hand toward them, and then the match went out. The Christmas lights mounted higher. She saw them now as stars in the sky. One of them fell down, forming a long line of fire. Now someone is dying, thought the little girl. For her old grandmother, the only person who had loved her and who was now dead, had told her that when a star fell down, a soul mounted up to God. She rubbed another match against the wall. Scratch! It became bright again, and in the brightness, the old grandmother stood clear and shining, mild and lovely. "Grandmother, grandmother," cried the child, "oh, take me with you. I know you will go when the match is burned out. You will vanish like the warm fire, the warm food, and the great and glorious Christmas tree. Grandmother, take me with you." And she hastily rubbed the whole bundle of matches, for she wished to hold her grandmother fast. And the matches burned with such a glow that it became brighter than the middle of the day. Grandmother had never been so large or so beautiful. She took the little girl in her arms, and both flew in brightness and joy above the earth. Very, very high, and up there was neither cold, nor hunger, nor care, for they were with God. But in the corner, leaning against the wall, sat the poor little girl with red cheeks and a smiling mouth, frozen to death on the last evening of the old year. The New Year's sun rose upon the little corpse. The child sat there stiff and cold, with the matches of which one bundle was burned. She wanted to warm herself, the people said, she had seen, and in what glory she had gone with her grandmother on that New Year's Day. And that's the story of the little match girl. Sad little girl who lived a sad little life, but she loved her grandmother, and her grandmother represented everything that was wonderful and beautiful to her. Your nanny, your mom and your dad. So thanks for listening to my story. This is why we worry about and think about other folk. Papa loves you very much, the special child you are. Thank you very much.